Hello, and welcome to MRA's 5-Minute HR Feed, the podcast where we share quick and practical information. In the time it takes you to go grab a cup of coffee, you'll gain insights into hot topics and pressing HR issues. I'm your host, Nicole Morehouse, and we're glad you're listening. Before we start, here's our usual disclaimer that the information being shared is not and should not be considered legal advice. Now let's dive into our topic. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this episode of our 5-Minute HR Feed. And joining us today is Lisa Hirchert, who is going to guide us through some considerations for a popular topic, pay transparency. Lisa is a human resources business partner at MRA and is highly skilled in the areas of organizational design and development, change management, coaching, consulting, HR program management, project management, employee engagement. The list keeps going on. Lisa and I are going to go through a short series of questions. It is a 5-minute podcast, so we have 5 minutes to do this, which is a big topic for a short podcast, but we want you to walk away with some understanding of pay transparency and its impact to your organization and your culture. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you for having me, Nicole.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Should we start off maybe high level and tell everyone what pay transparency is?
Yes. So pay transparency is basically a pay communications practice in which a company provides salary-related information to employees in the form of job postings, transparency around pay processes, and by not retaliating against employees who discuss their pay.
Okay, got it. Is that different than pay equity?
Pay equity is simply about equal pay for equal work. Pay transparency is how we communicate pay equity. So while they're separate and distinctive concepts, pay equity and pay transparency practice both aim to promote fairness and reduce pay disparities in the workplace.
Okay, got it. And so we're hearing about this a lot lately because there are laws, correct? Right? There's a legal requirement in some cases in terms of like pay equity and pay transparency, both those things.
Yeah. So the Equal Pay Act has been around for a while, and we're all familiar with that. So that's the law that addresses pay equity. Pay transparency laws are a little newer. The first was enacted about 5 years ago. Currently, 10 states have pay transparency laws in place. 4 more have laws coming in 2025, and 2 have laws at the state level. So these numbers are growing and changing, and my advice to employers who operate in states that don't have pay transparency laws is that they plan ahead and be ready for the day that they do. And some employers are already doing that, and they're doing it because they're progressive and they recognize the good things about pay transparency and how that helps build and grow the business.
Got it. And so like you said, whether or not it's a legal requirement, some companies are moving forward. And certainly I think like it's just a known thing, right? Like if about, 20% of the country has a legal obligation to it, you're seeing job postings with starting salaries and compensation information. And so sometimes you're seeing that because the company's progressive in doing it. And sometimes you're seeing it because the laws that are being passed are forcing employers to do that. And so whether or not, whatever the reason for your journey down for pay transparency, whatever that reason is, I agree with you that it's something that's going to move forward, right? Like there's going to be more of it, not less of it. Can you maybe like help us out with some things that HR departments, HR professionals should be thinking about in terms of pay transparency as they begin their journey, whatever the reason for that journey might be?
Yeah, so it's important to realize that pay transparency can positively impact employees' perceptions of trust, fairness, job satisfaction, and it can boost performance if it shows employees that they're paid in line with the market, the objective criteria that determines their pay, and if it clearly defines that what they have to do to reach the next step on the career ladder. A published compensation philosophy and a sound framework can make having discussions about pay with employees easier for managers too, because it takes the subjectivity out of measuring performance.
Got it. Yeah, that was like kind of my next question for you. So HR, I think, is in the front lines, if you will, in terms of like a company and or organization's journey for pay transparency. What's the word? Supervisors and managers. So any guidance there our audience is probably largely HR professionals. So how can we help HR professionals ready themselves to help managers and supervisors who also get questions about compensation from their employees?
Yeah. So really what we can do, besides the things I mentioned earlier to prepare managers, is to train them on how to build trust, train them on how to be trustworthy. This means they can't try and go around the system to negotiate when challenged by employees, which is really a common thing that happens. Ultimately, a really great training on communicating the compensation process and resources in the form of career ladders and objective performance measures is key to making pay transparency work for the organization.
Got it. So hearing from you is a lot of steps towards trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think if employees, if they trust the process, if they trust their manager and they trust the organization has their best interests at heart and really wants to see them grow and exceed or succeed, then they stop worrying about what other people are making and they just focus on their own career.
Great. And we do have such a short period of time. I feel like we could spend a lot more time together today and talk about other things. And so we do recommend, for those of you that are listening, our 24/7 hotline is always an option. If you have questions, you can contact us by email at info.now@mranet.org. Lisa's team and the HR business partner team is at the ready too if your organization is beginning or maybe in the middle or maybe at the end, but you just need a boost or some help from an expert in terms of pay transparency. Those are all options for you. So, and we're going to try and continue this conversation in a way at our next episode, and we'll talk about career pathing and career mapping and those sorts of things, because that's also part of your compensation and engagement strategies, probably most likely. If you're listening to this, those are probably on your mind as well. So thank you so much, Lisa, for joining us. It was great to have you.
Thank you.
And we'll see everyone next time. Thank you for listening to MRA's 5-Minute HR Feed. Be sure to follow and connect with us for more podcasts and updates. If you're a member and have questions, you can always connect with MRA's 24/7 HR hotline by emailing info.now@mranet.org or by calling 866-474-6854.